Hello Ryan, this is Hudsyn DiBrito. So I decided to do my final presentation on leukemia. I hope this is clear enough for you. I'm just recording my computer screen. So what is leukemia? Well, it's a blood cancer and it occurs when white blood cells become too crowded for red blood cells and platelets. So on the right in this picture you can see normal blood, and then leukemia has way more white blood cells in it than normal blood. And leukemia affects bone marrow and the lymphatic system, and both of those things are very important for keeping our bodies healthy. So the lymphatic system deals with immunity and transportation of interstitial fluid back into the bloodstream, and then also fat absorption. And then your bone marrow is the primary site for red blood cell production. So both very important and would not be good when leukemia affects them. So some signs and symptoms. Well, there's no known cause of leukemia, but there are like the natural triggers that trigger other serious illnesses as well, which include smoking, exposure to an excessive amount of radiation therapy or chemotherapy, a family history, or having a genetic disorder. And then what also goes along with leukemia is it can be acute or chronic. So down here on the right, so if it's acute, leukemia will get bad fast and the blood cells can't mature or carry out normal functions. But if it's chronic, it'll get bad slower, and you'll have some immature cells and some normal cells still. And then you could also have a lymphatic cells or myelogenous cells. I don't know how to say that, sorry. And so this is how you classify leukemia. So you could have like acute lymphatic or chronic lymphatic and vice versa. And then up in the top right is just some common symptoms of leukemia, which include like weight loss, fever, shortness of breath, muscular weakness. There's a bunch of different kinds up there. And so the diagnosis of leukemia requires doctors to look at the patient's blood or bone marrow. So there's 4 main types of ways they do that. The first one is a blood test, which looks at maturity and different types of blood cells through a complete blood count. Then you could also do a bone marrow biopsy, which this is the top picture on the right. It takes a long needle and takes some bone marrow from the pelvic bone. This can tell the doctor a specific kind of leukemia present and how severe it is, so it's very helpful. And then spinal tap is the third kind. That's the bottom right picture. It takes fluid out of the spinal cord and can tell doctors whether the leukemia has spread or not. And then lastly is image tests, which are probably the most common things people hear of, which are CTs, MRIs, and PET scans. And so treatment of leukemia, there's quite a bit of different options. Common is chemotherapy. It uses drugs in the form of a pill or a shot, which tries to directly kill cancer cells. That's the top right picture. And then radiation uses high energy x-rays to kill cancer cells. It can be localized in one spot in the body or all over. And then an uncommon one that a lot of people probably haven't heard of is biological therapy, which helps the immune system to attack the cancer cell. And then targeted therapy also uses drugs like chemotherapy, but it tries to block specific genes that cancer cells need to grow. So that's showing this top picture of a pill, like affecting the specific genes. And then there's also stem cell transplant, which replaces cancer cells with new blood from a patient or a donor. That's going to be this picture right here. And then you could also just have surgery if whole organs are completely filled with cancer cells. You're going to have to get surgery to remove those organs. And here are my 3 references. The top ones are textbook, and then 2 other sites that I looked up some information on. Thank you.